folks. Okay, welcome back, and we are going to continue now in what we're doing as family. Alright? So when you're in an argument or you're in a conflict with any of your family, okay? The reason why you're in that conflict is because you have made the member of your family different than everybody else. Isn't this true? And like how this conversation started off is that you basically have to love them. And when you don't love your family, then what does the ego tell you?
You're bad.
That you're a bad person. Because this is the law of this world, that we have to love our family. Families have to stick together. So, in the first step here, what you do is the self-awareness, as you say, who needs to love the family? Who is it that's in conflict with the family member? Okay? So you go straight to the very core here of questioning the I who's in conflict. And you can seek for a witness in this. But this witness is actually going to help you. Is this love that's in this with my family member? And we now know that the answer is not. This is the special love, that's the special hate. We will love our family, provided to do what we want them to do. And we will hate our family members when they don't do what we want them to do. So who is it that's making these decisions? It is the I am. Okay? So the second step here then is detachment. Okay? So what are we detaching from?
The story.
So,
Thoughts.
But we're detaching from the story that this person is different from everybody else. We're detaching from that thought and that story of the special love that surrounds us. Because that's where the conflict is. Because the family that we all are a part of and make is a story that we made up. And again, in that story of our families, there's going to be right and wrong, there's going to be good and bad, there's going to be the guilty and innocent. Isn't that true? Okay, so you have to make a choice here. Do I want to keep the story that this person is different to everybody else? Yeah? Because as long as you keep the story, then you're going to have conflict. So you have a choice here. You can do ATF with the family member, and it will be successful. But if you don't let the story go that this person is different to everybody else, then you're always going to be doing ATF in the story. So you move to number 3.
discernment.
Discernment.
I looked that word up because I didn't understand the word, and it just means making the correct choice.
Yes.
That's what it means.
And that's exactly what it is here. Now you're making a choice.
Mm-hmm.
But not necessarily we'll always make the right choice. All right?
Yeah.
Because we all make the wrong choices first. And the effects of that is what?
Back in.
Separation.
Pain, fear, guilt, anger, depression. Okay? So all of those will always point to, I have made a wrong choice. Don't annihilate yourself for this choice. It's just simply an error, and that's why Jesus in the Course calls all of these choices errors. They're just errors. Okay? Nothing has truly, basically been affected apart from your own peace. So what you're really discerning here now is, I want to make a choice. First of all, you're looking at the detachment. Now you're saying, I want to detach from this story completely. Do I want to honestly let this story go? Can I let this person in the story go? Can I let the thought that's in this story along with me about this other person go? And if the answer is yes, then you move to step 4, which is
Forgiveness.
forgiveness. And you do the process of forgiveness. Because if you have reacted to this person with fear, with guilt, with anger, with depression, with annoyance, with irritation, with anything, that's what you forgive. You cannot forgive the other person. You cannot forgive what the other person does. You can only forgive yourself. And letting go your reactions in that process of forgiveness is you taking full responsibility and having acceptance. That's what forgiveness is. That's the components of forgiveness. Responsibility and acceptance. So you go through that process. And then we get to the 5th step, which is action. What action do I take now? Maybe this family member is abusive. So you have a choice. But the key here is this. I cannot tell you what action you will take. You, by following these steps, have come into the right mind. Now you're right-minded. Because this is what this process does. It takes you, it guarantees that you're in the right mind. And now whatever action you take will be appropriate. Maybe the person was abusive. Maybe you need to phone the police, the guards. Maybe you need to move out. Whatever action, it will be solely for you. I cannot tell you, no one else can tell you what action you take. But whatever decision you make here, it'll be the right decision. When you don't do this, the ego makes the decision first. Remember what the ego does? The ego always speaks first. And what I've been saying for the last couple of years, you'll never make a right decision in your wrong mind, and you'll never make a wrong decision in your right mind. That's why this is self-empowerment. It takes us into our higher self. It takes us into the home of the Holy Spirit and the true right mind. And now whatever action you need to take, you will take it. But you will be sure this is the right, this is for my highest good. Okay? Now the ego's not speaking first. So that's family members. What was after that?
Friends.
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 You see
Yeah.
forgiveness there that was at point 4. Now I know we had ATF forgiveness at the ego level, we complete forgiveness at the true right mind level. Is it the same? That's forgiveness at the I am level. No, that's self-empowerment, which is forgiveness at the I am level.
Yeah.
The forgiveness at point 4, is it the same process you would use at the I kind of missed that bit, I think. What is the forgiveness process of point 4 there?
Yeah.
You mentioned it.
Yeah. What was simply here, anybody? It's 3 steps. It's the recognition, the correction, and the handover.
Right.
Simply, it's the shorter version of ATF.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if you've seen it, Joe, but basically, you know, an ATF, it
Oh,
breaks
yeah,
it all
absolutely.
down. When
Yeah.
you fully understand what ATF is, those 5 steps,
The last part of that.
you know, you don't have to keep going through that. It's about you understanding this. Then you tick the box, terms and conditions. You say, I understand the process in this.
Yeah.
So then you move to the simple 3 steps of forgiveness, which is you recognize I've reacted. You correct that reaction by taking full responsibility for it, and you accept that the other person has nothing to do with this.
Mm-hmm.
It's my story, I made it up. And now I hand over this anger, simple as that. That's self-empowerment. Okay, that's why ATF's at the bottom, you have complete forgiveness, and then as we go up the ladder, as we move up to level 3, everything becomes simpler. So you were saying earlier on about simple forgiveness. Simple forgiveness is in ATF, or self-empowerment, you know. But the crucial thing here to understand is this, is once you question the I am, you come out of the story. And you come out of the thought. Now you detach from the story, you discern, basically, do you want to keep the story or not? Like I say, discernment is a correct choice. And now you go to forgiveness, which is letting go of this reaction. Remember, it's that to wake up, is simply to let go of everything that's keeping us asleep. And what's keeping us asleep is the anger, the guilt, the fear, and everything that's inside us. So, our family members are helping us to push our buttons so we will react so we can let this go. That's the crucial thing to understand here. If we don't have people to push our buttons to bring that pain, that fear, that anger, that irritation, that sense of abandonment, that sense of, rejection, whatever you want to call it. That's what the world does. That's what people do. It brings it into our awareness. That is the miracle that our family members are bringing us. Okay? So allow your family members to piss you off. But it should never reach to verbal or physical abuse. Because that's what the ego just loves. So if it was verbal or physical abuse, then basically you would make the decision, I don't want this anymore. But you still do these steps first. But it's crucial to understand that we need people to piss us off. We need people to annoy us. We need people to abandon us. We need people to reject us, to bring these emotions into awareness, because the thought of rejection, abandonment, or anything else is still here in the ego. Okay? So that thought that someone else is hurting us brings it into awareness here. So it's here that we have to let it go, not here. The ego does forgiveness here with words. True forgiveness is done from the heart, from inside. This is where the thought of separation is, in here. Okay? So we go through the same process with our friends. We have friends who are going to piss us off.
You need to be in peace before you let it go?
No. What? We need to be annoyed to let it go. We need to be angry to let it go. We need to feel, that pain. It has to be in our awareness. Okay? So the point here is a family member you're in conflict with. So that conflict is rising inside you. It's not caused by them.
No.
It's always been inside you. Now they're showing you the miracle by bringing it into your awareness. So they do their job. It's your job now to let it go. You have the choice. You can let it go, or you can project back onto them and do the whole thing over and over and over again. So that's a part of the discernment.
When you let it go, you be in peace.
Yes. And the more that you do this, okay, the more peace is going to come in, because the more you're waking up. And the more that you're waking up, the more peace comes, the more joy comes, the more love comes. Okay? So, we do the same with our friends and our families. There's really no difference, because we make our friends special with our family special. Okay? It's just that subtle differences. The love that we have for our family is slightly different from the love that we have for friends, because we have to love our family. We don't have to love our friends. So we can tell them to fuck off anytime we want. But it's very hard to tell a family member to fuck off. Because the ego will really go to town with that. So we go through the same process with that. The next one then was work. Yeah? So let's say someone at work, right? You're in a job, and maybe your boss is giving you a hard time. So again, you question the same thing. Who is getting the hard time here? What's this story all about? You detach from the story. You discern that you want to keep this story or not. Do you want to make the right choice? Do you want to wake up? Or do you want to keep blaming this other person? Maybe it's an authority problem that you have with your boss. And that means that you're playing victim and he's the victimizer. So you can see the thoughts that come into the story. Then you let these thoughts go. You let the emotions go. And then it comes to action. And maybe the boss has overstepped the mark. He's been out of order. So your action could be to report the boss. Because you need to teach him that his abuse is not warranted. But again, no matter whether it's a work colleague, a boss, or whatever, by you coming to the right mind, you will make the right decision. Every decision you make here will be the correct decision. It'll be for your highest good, and it will be for the other person's highest good. Yeah? So then,
Michael, just have a question. You used a term there that I'm not sure of, the authority problem.
yeah. Well, the authority problem basically is covered in the course.
Okay.
And everybody that's doing a Course in Miracles all believe the authority problem is with God. We don't have an authority problem with God. We have an authority problem with each other. You know, God has left the building.
Okay.
And we're all here, and we're all equal, and we're all one. All right, say this room is representative of the world. And there's somebody in the room who wants to be boss. So you look at the world. All right? You'll always get the person who wants to rule the world. Wants to destroy it or wants to rule it. You have this in relationships. Someone wants to play God. You have it at work. You know, you could be working in a job with someone and they could be on the same pay, the same level as you. That person will still try to tell you what to do. They'll take on the God persona. Okay? So the whole point of the authority problem is not with God, it's with each other. And until such time we basically accept everybody as equal, we're not going to wake up. Because we're all one. We're all equal. There's nobody better than anybody else. There's nobody worse than anybody else. There's nobody more innocent. There's nobody more guilty. We're not here to conquer each other or be conquered. We're not here to play the victim or the victimizer. Okay? If you're playing any of those roles, you're in the story. Okay? If you have an authority problem with somebody, it's because you have chosen to have an authority problem with that somebody. You're just playing a role. And the reason you would do that is you get to blame this other person. So the authority problem is always the victimizer. You're playing the victim. Does that answer, Kim?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So again, it comes down to action. And the next one then is in our personal relationships, in our love relationships, our lovers' relationship. There's going to be a state of conflict. Okay? How can there not be conflict? Why?
Because you've made each other special, so you have expectations.
We've separated this person from everybody else.
This is my person.
So, when I separate one person from everybody else, I separate myself from this person. Remember this? I can't love you because if I say I love you, I separate you from everybody else. Now I'm separate from you. So there's a space between me and you. And when there's always a space between you and the other person, what's filled with that space is conflict, with judgments. How can there not be? This is why the special love will always have hate and guilt and projections built into it. We want to own the other person. And the way you own the other person is you make the other person different to everybody else. Someone sees a beautiful flower. What do they do with a beautiful flower? They'll go over, they'll pick it up, and when they pick it up, what do?
Right.
They kill it. Because they want to own it, they want to possess it. And that is how we kill all our relationships. We want to own the other person. We want to possess them. To do that, I have to make this person different than everybody else. Guaranteed, you will kill the relationship. It's unavoidable. Because no separate relationship works. So think of the flower the next time that you're in a relationship with someone. Okay? All you're doing is killing the relationship. Because you want to, and that's what the special relationship is. It's all about ownership. It's all about possession. When you have jealousy in a relationship, you can only be jealous because you want to own this person and you can't own them. Okay? You can't own them. But you're going to try to own them. And you're jealous now that you can't possess this person. Someone else might get this person. And that's where jealousy arises. It comes from wanting to possess and own. Why do we pick the flower up? We want to own it and possess it. Everything you choose to own and possess, you kill. And that's how we destroy all our love relationships. So, again, when you're in conflict with your lover, it's always coming from the separated I who wants to make this person special. And it's like people who see a beautiful picture. They want to buy it, they want to own it. And there was a picture, I think, in New York sold for 178 million. You know, people see beautiful cars, they want to own them, possess them. They want a beautiful house, they want to own it, and they want to possess it. You know, everything beautiful in the world, we want to own it and possess it. Why? Because we feel so bad about ourselves that we need to own beautiful things to make ourselves seem beautiful. Doesn't matter how much money you have in this world. Okay, you still feel as rotten inside as a person who is poor. There's no difference. But the only difference is the person with a lot of money covers up that sense of rottenness that's inside, that sense of guilt. They cover it up with their attachments. They cover it up with their possessions. They distract themselves from it, and they give themselves this illusion now that they're this beautiful person because look at all the beautiful things that I have. But ultimately, that's only going one way, because that person will end their life living in fear. Guilt. No one escapes it in this world. They'll have the fear of death. They'll have the fear of sickness. They'll have the fear of losing their money and their attachments. They project that fear onto them. The guy that has 100 million or 10 million or 1 million will never have peace because they're afraid of losing it. Remember back when the boom or the bust happened? How many millionaires committed suicide here in Ireland? A lot. Remember in the Great Crash in 1929? They were jumping out of windows everywhere because they couldn't stand being with themselves without their money, without their possessions. And we do this with people. We want to own people, possess people, because we can't stand being on our own with the self-hate that we all have within ourselves. So, here, if you want to empower yourself within the relationship, you have to detach from the story that this person, from the ownership of this person. Love is freedom. If you love someone truly, you set the person free. Then, if the person is still with you, that's love. We must detach from the owning and possession of this. We must detach from the story that this person is different than everybody else. This person is special, or more special than anybody else. This is so subtle. These thoughts very rarely manifest into consciousness that we think this way. We think this is the way it is. This is what relationships is. This is what our parents do. This is what our friends do. This is what our family members do. This is just the way it is, you know. And if everybody else is doing it, then I must do it. Jesus called this the blind leading the blind. It's as simple as that. So you must make all of this conscious within all your relationships. If you don't, all your relationships are always going to be in a state of conflict. How can they not be? So you discern now, do you want to keep making this person special? Which equals, do I want to keep the conflict? Do I want to keep the pain? Do I want to keep the sense of abandonment? Do I want to keep the jealousy? Do I want to keep the ownership? Do I want to keep the possessiveness? That's what the special relationship is. Especially the special love relationship that we have with our lovers, our spouses, our partners. You know, a little argument is no different than a full-blown rage of trying to throttle somebody. Being annoyed with someone, being irritated with somebody, being pissed off with somebody. Look how much we put up with this, and we still call it love. We're being sucked into a story, into a drama, and we think this is just what life is. There's no peace in the special relationship. There is peace when you get what you want. What happens when you don't get what you want? What happens when this other person doesn't make you special? What happens when this other person doesn't fulfill your demands, your expectations, your needs, your desires? That's the true test of this is love. When you blame the other person, when you accuse the other person, you're playing the victim. You're saying this other person is a victimizer. There's no trust in the special relationship. There's no true love in the special relationship. There's no loyalty. There's no honesty in the special relationship. It's all diluted. You're only deluding yourself. If you haven't got the thought of pure love for the person you're in a relationship with, and that means that you're never irritated, annoyed, depressed, angry with that other person, then that's love. Everything else, it ain't love. And this world is delusional when it comes to love. No one has a clue what true love is. So do you want to keep it or not? That's the choice that's here. When you're in a special love relationship with your lover, any time that you have a thought that as any way takes your peace away, before you accuse that person of anything, you should always say this: is this thought true? Because, like we talked about earlier, fear about anything is simply not true. When you accuse somebody of something to blame that other person, that's simply not true. It can't be true because it has caused a reaction in you.
And the true answer is, this isn't real, isn't it? So really you're letting go of
Everything. This is why this is a level 3 tool. It is so powerful when it comes to this. And there are people using this all around the world now, and it's blowing them out of the water. So again, in the special love relationship, you will have many opportunities to react, because you're always reacting to what I don't get, I want it and you're not giving it to me. Okay, so that's the forgiveness. So you recognize, I have reacted to this. You correct it. By whatever your reaction is, you let it go. And you hand it over. And then whatever action you need to do, you will be in the right mind, it will be the right course of action. So if you're in a verbal or abusive verbal relationship or abusive physical relationship or any other thing, it's not about being a doormat for anybody in any relationship. Never be a doormat. That's not what the course is teaching us to be. We don't have to put up shit from anybody. Don't feel guilty and just tell the person to fuck off. But do this first. And if that's your course of action, then that's the Holy Spirit that's telling you. But 9 out of 10 times when you do this, you won't need to take action, because you're going to realize that this has always come from me. I wrote this story. I caused this drama. I made this conflict. Why? because I want to blame this other person. I want to place my guilt onto this other person. And if you don't have this awareness, you're always going to blame the other person. Love is a choice. If you're with someone, it's a free choice. You're with the person because you want to be. If you're in a relationship with someone, be honest with that relationship. What am I in this for? Am I in this relationship to cover up my own guilt? Am I in this relationship to make me feel better? Am I in this relationship because I don't want to be alone? All of these, you have to basically ask yourself these questions. And if you're not going to be honest in the relationship is only going to end one way. In a lot of pain. Jesus says in the Course, you seek for pleasure in the body, you will find pain. This is what he's talking about. We seek for pleasure in our special relationships because it makes us feel good to be made special. And the way we feel special is by making the other person feel special. Because now we're special through association. We all want to be attached to success. You look at the average person in the street. Okay, they're going through life. They're going to work. They're coming home from work. They go to bed. They dream all night. Maybe nightmares, maybe whatever. They get up in the morning, they go to work. They're robots. They haven't got much success in their life. So what did they do? They need success. I want to be successful. I want to feel like what it's like to be successful. So what do? They attach themselves to a football team. This is what most Manchester United fans have did over the last 20 years. All right? They just latched on because United seem to be winning everything. And if United's winning, I'm winning. And they're right there and they're jumping, yeah. Well, you take United out of the picture, or any other football team, right? What would that person be jumping up and down about? Absolutely nothing. And the more successful the team is, the more successful I am. But the same applies. Why would somebody get a football team that's rubbish and attach themselves to a football team that's rubbish? Because that person wants to feel bad. And if they're feeling bad, you get to blame someone else for the cause of it. So now it's to do with the referee. Now it's to do with the manager. You see how both sides work? All right. Now it's because, did you see that centre forward? It couldn't score. I was going to say another word there. It couldn't score on a. Help me out, Kevin.
Oh, I don't know what you're talking about.
No. Couldn't score on a her house.
I know that I'm innocent.
Is there another way of saying that?
I read it in the book.
But you see the way this works. It's duality. You know, people want to feel good about themselves, so they attach themselves to a team that's successful. People want to feel bad about themselves, so why? They'll attach themselves to a team that's not successful, because now they get to project their guilt onto a whole range of things. You know, but most teams, the one to lose, the one to lose. You know, even the bad teams win sometimes, so they're going, yeah, but most of the time they're just, you know, this is the way the whole thing works. You know, the majority, 99.9% of the people in this world are leading very boring and dull lives. And this is why sport is the biggest attraction in this world. So we do this, and we do this with relationships. Okay? So again, everything you react in the relationship, you have to take full responsibility. You chose this person to be in the relationship. You can choose not to be in the relationship. What we always try to do in relationships, we try to change the other person. If this person doesn't change, I'm out of here. Jesus says in the Course, don't try to change the world, change yourself first. The point of this relationship is that it's going to piss you off. It is going to annoy you. It's going to bring up a lot of emotions inside you. This is the reinterpretation of it. So now you use this relationship to wake up. You use this relationship to let all of this inside go. If we don't reinterpret all our relationships, we're going to keep going out of one relationship into another, out of one into another, out of one into another. Always looking for this perfect relationship. Well, it doesn't fucking exist. There's not one true relationship in this world. And if that makes you angry, and anybody who's watching on YouTube or whatever, then so be it. It's the truth. And the truth will set you free. But it's going to piss you off first. Okay. So what is it? I did a video on your perfect relationship. And it's very important. In all our relationships, we set the goal. Because in all our relationships, we can set the goal for specialness, or we can set the goal to wake up. That is the only choice. Simple as that. There is no other choice. If you use the goal of the relationship to stay asleep, you're always going to be in conflict. You're always going to be in and out of relationships. Now, you could have the same lover all your life, but you're going to have basically, different friends emerging all the time. You might be changing jobs a lot of the time. You might speak to your family members for a couple of years. You mightn't speak to them for years. What I'm saying here is, right, you will have conflict in all your relationships. And what I mean by conflict, I'm not talking about killing each other or physically abusing each other, but even the slightest little irritation is conflict. Slightest little annoyance, slightest little sadness. If you feel pity for somebody, they're all states of conflict. Okay? You can't have one without the other. And you can't have a holy relationship with your family and your friends and have a special relationship with your lover. You can't do it. So it's either this is total or it's nothing. It's complete. Love is one. It's everything or it's nothing. So, what are you using your relationships for? To stay asleep or to wake up? You must ask yourself that question. If you don't, then the ego is always going to use the relationship for specialness to keep you asleep. It's as simple as that. So you do your forgiveness, you let go of your reactions that surface, and then whatever action you need to take in the relationship, you'll take it. That'll be the right decision. And it'll also be the right decision for the other person. That's crucial here. Okay, when you make a decision at this level here, if you're in a special relationship with someone, and a special love relationship, and you make a decision at this point, not only is it the right decision for you, but it's also the right decision for the other person. That's what the miracle is. The ego tells you this is selfish. You're going to break the other person's heart. You're going to hurt the other person. You can't hurt anybody else. All pain has always been in the other person, the same as no one else can hurt me. If I'm feeling any pain, it could never be caused by someone else. It's always been inside me. That's what complete forgiveness is. All pain is always inside us. What other people do to show it to us, to bring it into awareness. But what do? We blame the other person. You have hurt me. Okay? It's impossible that you could hurt anybody, and it's equally impossible that anybody can hurt you. That's the ego's interpretation, that you did hurt me, or I did hurt you. Either way, if someone has hurt me, I get to blame the other person. If I hurt someone else, I get to blame myself. Guilt. Ego wins in both situations. You know. So no matter what decision you make at this level, you're making it from the right mind, you're making it for the highest good of not only yourself, but the other person. So that's the special love. Then we have illness. Illness basically is a decision. It's a relationship that we have. It's the relationship that we have with the body. Okay? And in this world, there's a lot of sick people. You look at the hospitals in Ireland, there's a lot of sick people. So again, any illness that you have will work on this process. So, self-awareness. First question you have to ask yourself here. Who is ill? Who is sick? Because the sickness and the thought of sickness are in a story that you have made up. And if you have the thought of sickness and you're attached to that thought of sickness, you take it into the story. And you create a drama now where you're sick. Or it could be someone else along with you who's sick. But once you react to their sickness, it's your sickness. Because you join that person in the story. You take on that person's sickness within yourself. So you must come out of the story and out of the thought of sickness that's in the story. And the most powerful way to do this is to question who is sick. Can our true self be sick? The true self is perfect. Always was, always is. The separated self is what's sick. Because if the true self is perfect, then the separated self is imperfect. That's what sickness is. But here's the key. We are all sick. Every time you're feeling angry, that's a sickness. Every time you're feeling guilty, that's a sickness. Okay? And we're all going to get sick because that's what the ego thought system is. Some get sick earlier, like I was very sick early on in my life. And I was sick throughout all my life. 7 years ago, I haven't been sick one day since. It's a decision, it's a choice. And the choice is not, oh, who would really want to get sick? No one wants to get sick. But what we do is we align ourselves with a thought that we're separate. That's what the sickness is. The sickness could be in the body of any description, or the sickness is in the mind. But all sickness in the body comes from the sickness that's in the mind. Simple as that. There's no difference. There's no difference than someone lying in a hospital very sick and anybody walking around running a marathon. Both people are sick. Both people will die. Our health does not come from our fitness. It does not come from what we eat. Where's health come from? Forgiveness. A person who smokes all their life, eats steaks all their life, does whatever all their life and practices forgiveness, basically will have eternal life. A person who's a vegetarian, runs marathons, does this, does that, looks after themselves, but does not practice any of these tools, will get sick and will die. And death, we know, is an illusion, so all death is coming back here again. It's the death of everything we have all previously known. And that's a death that's worse than death. Because you have to start all over again. You know, it's like setting the clock back to zero again. You You know, we've had many lifetimes, we have acquired much knowledge, and we have to clock up to 99. But if we don't do this, the clock goes back to 0, and you start it all over again. And it goes back to 0, and you start it all over again. And this is every lifetime that we have had. We have always reset, reset, reset. Well, if you're sick of resetting the button, then you must start application of the tools that's in the course. It's as simple as that. Don't delude yourself into thinking that being a vegetarian or leading a healthy lifestyle makes one bit of fucking difference. It doesn't. And I use the word fucking there to stress that. Okay? All health comes from forgiveness. All death comes from lack of forgiveness. That's where all sickness comes from. Okay? And we're all sick. Not the people who seem to be sick. So, you detach from the story of sickness. Because that's all it is a story that's simply not true. If you're sick, then that is a thought that's simply not true, because it's impossible that you can be sick, your true self. So it's a story, it's made up. And you discern, do I want to keep this story? Do I want to let this story go? And whatever choice you make, you move to forgiveness. And you just basically, if you have reacted to the illness you have, the sickness you have, it's the same as anger, guilt, fear, whatever, you hand it over. You correct it, you recognize it first of all, you correct it and you hand it over. And then whatever action you need to take, you'll take it. Because now it'll be the right decision. And the next one with a special relationship is with our attachments. Okay, there could be material attachments, or there could be psychological attachments, and all our psychological attachments are our special relationships. But the people out there have attachments to the material, to their money, to their cars, to their houses, all their trinkets. And the same process goes in. And I want to finish off now with the final self-empowerment you will do. And remember the line, forget this course. Forget everything you've ever learned. It's no workbook lesson. Forget all your study. Forget all your knowledge. Everything. And come on to God with holy open hands. Because the people who are doing A Course in Miracles, their last special relationship is with A Course in Miracles. So here you have to ask yourself is, who is the I who is doing A Course in Miracles? Who is the I who's done all the forgiveness? Who is the I who's done all the suffering, all the pain? It's the same I. Your true self doesn't need A Course in Miracles. Doesn't need to learn anything out of a book. I was guided 2 years ago to drop the book and listen only to the voice. Now I look back and I see that's where I basically did the self-empowerment. Because I could have been reading from this book and studying this book from now to the day I die. That wasn't meant to be. I had to let the book go and listen only to hear. Because now, reading the book, I'm not reading the book as the separated I, or the I am. Not I am. I'm listening only to the voice of God. But I had to put the book down for that to occur. And believe you me, right? I brought up a lot of fear, and I went, what am I going to talk about? You know, I was coming up here with nothing. You know, and I had to trust, and not only that, I had to do it in front of a video. The day that that video appeared was the day that I began teaching here without any crutches, without any books, without going back to look on anything. I couldn't go back and check out anything. So every video that I have did in the last 2 years has come from here. And I had to trust in that voice. At the very beginning, 7 years ago, I didn't trust that voice. And that's why I was guided to probably the greatest teacher of level 1 and level 2, which was Ken Watnick. I had to study Ken. I had to learn the levels. I had to do what everybody else was doing in the course. Because remember, I wasn't a student of the course when I woke up. But I still had to learn the course, the same as everybody else. I had to teach it to learn it. And that's the way that I learned it. But then I was guided to drop Ken. And 1 year later, I was guided to drop the book and teach only from here. So I had to detach from the book. I had to discern, do I want to keep looking at here, learning with my separated eye, or do I want to allow the knowledge for the voice of God to come through me here? So I did do forgiveness with this when I was here teaching, before I landed up. And it was so funny the way it worked out too, because at the beginning it was very good. I got what I was teaching about a week beforehand. Then it went down to about 3 or 4 days. And then it went down to 2 days. And then it went down to 1 day. And then it went down to a couple of hours. And then it went down to being in the moment. And as it got straighter, as it got closer to being in the moment, I began to panic. What the hell am I going to say? What am I going to teach? And the anxiety came up, and the stress and the fear. So I had to do the forgiveness. I had to let this go and trust. And not once was I let down. And unbelievably, all the videos, all the concepts, all the teaching has been perfect. Because I am not the teacher. Someone said to me, you're a great teacher in Ibiza. And I went, no, but I just know someone who's a great teacher. That's what it's all about. And we all have this ability within ourselves. I remember in the early videos, I was saying things like, God doesn't want you to believe in Him. God wants you to know Him. Because as long as you have a belief in God, you're putting God into a box, into a concept, into an idea. You can't do that. And I remember one lady got up and walked out here. And I didn't know, at that time was I saying the right thing or not, but I knew if I was saying it, that it had to be right, so I had to trust. So we all will go through the same process. Put the book down and listen to the voice within. At some stage, when you'll know when it's ready. But use the book and use the teachings and use the videos and use everything to get to that point. But you will know. I have enough now that I know. And ultimately, like I said, the book or the course, the book is a toolbox. Get the tools out of it, use them, and leave the book down. It's not meant to be made into a theology, an ideology, or an icon, or an idol, or whatever. Stop making it special. Because the book is a religion. And I said this in Ibiza. It's a religion when you see the people who are doing A Course in Miracles different than everybody else. If you see the people in the Course that they have it right, and the Christians or the Jews or the Muslims, they've got it wrong. You've just made the Course a religion. It's just another religion. Don't make the book a religion. It's not a religion. Make it the same as everything else. Because when you make the course different, then you're picking a side. You're saying this is right and this is wrong. You're splitting the whole sunset. You're falling into just another drama, another story of using the course to keep you separate from God. Okay? So don't make the course different to anybody else. Or from anything else. It's not. And I'll finish up there. Thank you, friends.
Thank you.
Thank you.